On December 12, 1986, the comedy classic, The Three Amigos, came out in theaters. At the time, critics hated it, and the film was considered a disappointment, but since has become a cult classic and hailed as one of the funniest movies ever made. The history that went into making this cult classic involves a group of underdogs creating a comic tale of underdogs. My name is Gelsey Laurie of Before My Time and Geekscape, and this is the history of the Three Amigos. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for pop culture videos every Tuesday and Friday. You can also subscribe to our Patreon in the episode description for early access and bonus podcasts. And now, back to the video. The story of the Three Amigos starts with a wild and crazy guy on a cold streak. After exploding in the 70s with abstract anti-humor, memorable hosting stints on Saturday Night Live, and the massively successful The Jerk, Martin was on a steady decline in popularity. Following The Jerk's $40 million domestic gross, his following 5 films combined didn't match that number. While all of these films are now cult classics, at the time, in 1984, they were nothing more than painful disappointments in Martin's life. But Martin was convinced all he needed was another big hit to get back on top, and he had just the idea for it, a script that had sat in his filing cabinet for close to a decade. At one point, The Three Amigos was slated to film in 1981 with Steve Martin, Robin Williams, and Bill Murray. The film was even going to be directed by Steven Spielberg. However, E.T. took a priority for the director. It's so probably safe to assume Spielberg was still scared off by the huge box office bomb that was 1941 and was avoiding straight-up comedies at all costs. Martin showed his Magnificent Seven-inspired comedy to Saturday Night Live creator Lorne Michaels for notes. Instead, Lorne told Martin to completely throw out the old script and start from scratch. They decided to bring in Randy Newman as a third writer and began marathon writing sessions. And yes, that Randy Newman, the man who gave us You Got a Friend in Me, is also a credited writer to this classic film. The script was given to John Landis, fresh off Spies Like Us, who took an immediate liking to the strange script. The casting came together shockingly easy. Martin had always written the role of Lucky Day for himself, and had decided Dusty Bottoms was the perfect role for Chevy Chase, who Martin had been playing a weekly Wednesday night poker game with. Knowing he wanted a fresh face for Little Nettie, he requested a meeting with SCTV up-and-comer Martin Short. Their first meeting was at Steve Martin's home, where following the tour of the home, Martin Short asked, "How did you get so rich? Because I've seen your movies." From that point on, Steve Martin had a new friend and his third amigo. The cast of this movie is the definition of a power trio. Chevy, Martin, and Short all have their own unique comedic styling that helps each character shine while also feeling like they work as a cohesive team with history. All 3 stars have reportedly said it was the most fun they had making a movie, and it shows in every scene. In this day and age, we've seen countless people do the comedic take on Magnificent Seven's missing identity premise, be it A Bug's Life or Galaxy Quest, but none got quite as weird as Three Amigos. The silliness without shame pushes the film to the extreme comedic limits, be it the singing bush, the invincible swordsman, or the iconic Three Amigos salute. However, the film also works as a beautiful love letter to old Hollywood. My Little Buttercup could have been in any film from the 30s, and is there a more perfect silent film homage than 3 grown men sleeping in a tiny bed? That's the type of gag you'd find in any Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, or Marx Brothers project. Even the film's villain, El Guapo, is perfect for a comedy with his constant need for ego boosting, surrounding himself with people desperately seeking his approval. Unfortunately, not everyone had a blast making the movie. 2 years before filming, John Landis had an extremely publicized accident happen on the set of The Twilight Zone. He was editing the film at night while going to court most of his morning, waiting on the verdict. One day while filming, Landis overheard Chevy make off-color jokes about the Twilight Zone incident, which angered the director so much that he never worked with the iconic actor ever again. The film was a disappointing release. It opened third behind The Golden Child, which was released the same day, and Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, released 2 weeks earlier. It continued to quickly slip down the box office until falling out of the top 10 entirely less than a month from its release. This was a mixed bag for Martin. While the film was not the career changer he had hoped it would be, he was proud he was able to make the movie. Fan and critical appreciation for the film grew over the years, leading to Bravo ranking it the 79th funniest film ever made. There's a true art to creating a film like Three Amigos. Like director John Landis once said, movies that are so silly and outrageous, I don't think people realize sometimes how sophisticated they truly are. Celebrate 35 years of this cult classic by giving it a revisit this week. Afterwards, you can also check out my podcast, Before My Time with Gelsey Laurie. Every week, myself, and sometimes a guest, comes on to discuss the things from before we were born, well, that we're obsessed with. Be sure to share this video if you enjoyed it and tune in for more pop culture videos. Thanks for watching!